Scott, this before we get right into what Calix is up to, because we've had the pleasure, I can remember the first time you and I met in person was on the floor of an SNEC show that was breaking down. And if anyone has been to SNEC, will
Yep.
you do the favor to ones that have not been to this thing? It is by far the largest solar show in the world, and it is astonishingly enormous. It's like
It is
14
huge.
aircraft carrier size buildings, all in a
Yes,
triangle in the middle of
exactly.
Pudong, right? In the middle of
Yeah,
central Shanghai. And
yeah,
every building is full to the top of vendors that you've never heard of. And there's
yes.
usually one anchor, which is a Western, Trina or Canadian Solar or someone that you know. And the
Yeah.
rest of them are just these little, like,
Bajillions
mountains.
of them. Yeah, no,
Really,
it's
the
it's
small solar companies, huh?
Oh, yeah.
but they would bring out the biggest equipment. You'd start seeing polysilicon processing equipment. You'd see saws. And I remember being in the capital equipment industry and first going to my first SMEC show and being absolutely blown away. And the expectations that you showed up with a tool. And that got to be when I was at one company, we could pull that off. We could bring a couple of key pieces of equipment. And I went to a smaller capital equipment provider and we brought models. And I'll tell you, everybody taking pictures of your models. And you had to be careful about the stuff you left out on the desk because people would literally walk by, just sweep off the top of the desk into their goodie bag. And God knows what happened to it later. But so you had to parse these things out. But it was wild west. And it was at the time where we started to really acknowledge that, oh my God, we got it wrong in the West in terms of what solar can possibly do. And that was the wake up call for me. Was like, we don't really have a clue what is going on here and the level of investment that was happening. And we should have just whipped out our calculators like we used to and just, walk through what's the learning rate of solar and how much investment is it going to take in order to get the cost down to a certain level. It was obvious. I could say working for a European company to start with and then going to American companies in the space, especially on the equipment side of things. There was hubris. We thought, oh, we have this great technology, this great capability. It took them no time at all in order to produce capital equipment. I could say just from that perspective, that was on par, if not better, than what we had in factories. And when I was at Flex and I had large module manufacturing operations at the time, I had 2 gigawatts of PV assembly outside of China at that time, back in 2015, that was a big number. And we're struggling with US and European equipment providers. And then when we switched over to seeing Chinese tapping and stringing machines and Chinese laminators coming in, the maintenance issues went away, the process issues went away. And by the way, they were future proof. We had tools that could actually do 7 bus bar before anybody was even thinking about it. And it took a minor upgrade to get there.